Let's discuss one of the important cloud design patterns, ambassador design pattern. So ambassador design pattern is a design pattern which is kind of a co-located service running in with your client. So suppose if you have an app, it's running in an environment. So this service which you are setting up newly will also be running in the same environment as sidecar pattern aided with the proxy. Your app will be calling this service and this service will be fulfilling the request or the requirements you want to add. So now let's try to find out that what are the things which we can fulfill with this design pattern. So suppose if you want to add some sort of security, some sort of monitoring of requests, or you want to add kind of retries, circuit breaker in one of your legacy systems. So if you will be having one legacy system which is running already, but you don't want to modify it. You don't know its code and how it will behave if you change or you add circuit breaker on top of it, or if you have to migrate it to HTTP to HTTPS. So in these cases, your service, this design pattern will help. So what you do, you set up a new service inside proxy and let your app be called this service internally in the same IP environment inside same firewall, which means that your app will internally, locally, in the same environment will be calling this service, and now this service will be fulfilling all the requests. So suppose if you want to implement circuit breaker, this service will be implementing all the circuit breakers with the external services. If you want to add some extra monitoring logs or something tracing and all those things, so you don't have to modify your app. Your app will be calling this service, and this service will add headers and all those things in this, and then it will propagate to the other services. So by this way, without changing anything in your existing app, you will be able to leverage or take a benefit of all the modern use cases of the microservices design pattern. So now let's try to find out that what all the things it will be solving. So if you want to add circuit breaker in your service, you want to add routing, extra routing, then also it will be helpful. Mostly it will all the network related things which are common, then it will be helpful. Then if you want to add extra monitoring to your APIs and all those things, it will be helpful. Then it will also helpful if you want to add extra logging and tracing information in the request which is going out from your service. So these things it will be helpful. Let's try to find out that how it will be helpful. So you will be having one app, legacy service, then you will put an ambassador inside same proxy domain with retries, circuit breaker monitoring, all those capabilities built in. Your app will be calling this ambassador. It will be getting responses with this ambassador. But now for all the external world, this ambassador will be the main app, which will be doing all those modern things inside it. So how it will be done? What you have to do is create a new service, deploy inside same proxy. Let your app be calling legacy app be calling this service, and then this service will be calling all the external world. Now let's try to find out that what all the pros and cons of it. So as you are adding one more proxy layer inside it, it will have its own latency. So if your system is a very high performance system and you don't want any latency, then you should avoid this. Now comes the next is when we should be using it. So if you have a legacy system and you don't want to touch, one thing will be that. The next is if you want to offload certain things from your existing system to a new service or something, then also it will be used. When it is not suited, if you don't want any latency, as we discussed, that with the proxy latency will be added. Or there are certain, suppose in case of you are adding retries and your underlying system is not idempotent, then also you will not be able to add this design pattern to your service. Let's see with one example. You will having one application and one ambassador design pattern. You have one remote service. With first step, requests will be sent to ambassador via proxy. In the second step, it will determine the location of the remote service and it will route the request to that particular service. Then in the third step, it will check the circuit breaker, and then if circuit is open, then it will not send. If circuit is closed, then it will try to send the request. Then in the fourth, if you want to add some tracing information in the headers, it will add those information in the header. And in the fifth one, what it will do, it will start measure the latency monitoring related things, and it will send the request. It will send the request as part of sixth. Suppose if you want to do some encryption and all those things, these are all the external things which you wanted to add in your service. So it will send. In the seventh, it will go and do whatever remote service is doing. Then you will get the response again. And in the eighth one, you want to log the request, what has happened with the response. And in the ninth one, you will return the service to again the response to your actual application, and then actual application will process that response. So this is how it will be working.